So basically what he's saying is that we've reached a point where forces have a kind of momentum is underway that if we don't, I've likened it, at least in my head, to a black hole, where you reach that point of no return, and then the singularity starts forming. There's no stopping it unless something more powerful intervenes. I think what he's basically saying is that a very few have amassed an enormous amount of wealth. That wealth is able to grow faster than the economy as a whole. So unless something is done, ever increasing, because whatever you want to call it, oligarchic wealth and power becomes inevitable and will get progressively worse.
That's right. And, I think I would argue he's overly pessimistic on that score because, to my view, I've seen, just to put it as simply as possible, he looks at the equality we saw in the middle of the century, not just in the United States, but across much of West Europe, much of the world. He looks at that as sort of an anomaly. I don't see it as an anomaly. I see that as, we learned a lot about economic policy that we didn't know previously, Keynesian economics, to put it bluntly. And also we had the growth of the labor movement in the United States and elsewhere. So we had both political force and a changed understanding of the economy. So, my view is telling me that in, the 18th century, the 19th century, the rich were getting richer. It's kind of like, I sort of like this analogy. It's sort of like saying, well, we shouldn't expect our kids to live past 5 because, we can go back into the, the Middle Ages and the 18th century, and most kids didn't live past the age of 5. Why would you think kids could live past the age of 5? And I go, well, we have modern medicine now. We understand, the things that would cause, infants to die. And, I think that's a good argument. And I would say it's the same sort of story, when he presents evidence from, he goes back in some cases 2,000 years to antiquity. And I go, okay, it's fascinating evidence and worthwhile for many, many purposes. But I think there really is a changed understanding of the economy that allows us to grasp the levers in a way that we didn't previously, so that we don't have to see the same sort of concentration of income and wealth that we apparently saw during that period, at least according to his data.
Now, this is a fascinating topic. We're talking with economist Dean Baker about the new book "Capital" by Thomas Piketty. This is a fascinating topic because you have someone, and I'm certainly not picking on him. Paul Krugman has been extraordinarily generous and gracious in his praise towards the book Capital and towards Piketty's work. Everyone has benefited greatly from his research, but you have a certain number of Keynesians who used to say, as Krugman has said many times, this isn't rocket science. We know what to do. But they're also embracing a book that in effect says, well, yeah, but what you know to do doesn't work anymore. So without really, that I've seen, addressing the idea that, is he or is he not refuting the techniques that we have seen work in the past, and can we embrace the book and yet reject that aspect of it?
Yeah, I actually had an exchange with him. I was on a panel at the Urban Institute when he was in town last week, and I had an exchange with him, and he said, he didn't have evidence. He has beliefs about this, and I can't say I have airtight evidence, but, in several of my comments on the book, I pointed out all the ways in which we have government policies that prop up the incomes of the wealthy, and these are policies that can be changed. So, one of my favorites, if we talk about the financial sector, we have too big to fail banks, and the International Monetary Fund just came out with estimates of the implicit subsidies to the too big to fail banks, the guarantees from the government, I should say, to the too big to fail banks. They estimate it was $50 billion a year in the United States and $300 billion a year in the Eurozone countries. Those are huge. Those are very large relative to corporate profits. That's just one policy.
So we're getting into the aspect of the discussion that has to do with policy solutions Piketty may have not emphasized properly, and we'll get more into that when we come back from this break with economist Dean Baker. We're talking about Thomas Piketty's new book and the discussion of inequality in the United States. We'll be right back with Dean Baker after this break. I'm Richard RJ Eskow, and you are listening to, and this is, The Zero Hour.